Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or indeed good evening, depending on your time zone and depending on when you are watching this. I'm James Innes, and this is my YouTube show, The Jobs Guru. It is Tuesday, the 7th of July, 2020. My first show of the week. I'm delighted to see you all here for today's episode. I extend a very warm welcome to all those who have subscribed since the last episode. And if you haven't yet subscribed, then please do think about subscribing so you don't miss out on the next episode. Today, I'm going to be talking about ATS or ATS's Applicant Tracking Systems. Perhaps not the most exciting of subjects, but nonetheless a pretty damn important one. If you have any questions or comments as you watch them, do please type them into that comments section below. And if you like what you see, then please do hit that YouTube thumbs up. Applicant Tracking Systems, or ATS's, or to keep it simple, just ATS. Perhaps not the most exciting of topics, but nonetheless a pretty important one if you're putting your CV together to get a job. And it's certainly something which confuses many people. We'll start with the question, what is an applicant tracking system, ATS, and why is it so important? Well, it's a software application used by recruiters and many of the leading job boards to identify suitable candidates for a specific job role and to more efficiently manage a company's recruitment efforts. Clear so far? So when a company needs to fill a vacancy, information on that role is entered into the system, and every time a candidate applies, their CV is uploaded and passed through the ATS. The system then manages each candidate electronically, issuing notification alerts, sending out automated messages, informing them of whether they were successful or not, and enabling the human recruiter to then access the successful ones. Basically, it lessens the workload of the recruiter by automating key processes and reducing the number of CVs that they have to read. An ATS also acts as a candidate database, storing all the CVs that are passed through it, recording the candidate's information, and keeping this on record so they can potentially be contacted for suitable roles in the future. As to why they are so important, well, quite simply, if you don't get past the gatekeeper, that is the ATS, yes, this little chap, then your CV won't be shortlisted and you won't be invited to interview. So having an understanding of how an ATS fits into the recruitment process is a definite advantage. So, how to get past an ATS and through to the human recruiter. When applying for a specific job role, it is important to understand that the primary functions of an ATS are to pass all text out of the CV that is uploaded into it, index that text within the ATS database, search that text, are you copying me? Search that text according to keywords and phrases, and rank candidates for suitability based on those keywords and phrases. Oh. Goodbye. Oh, is that something I said? It is also vital to realise that those keywords and phrases that the ATS searches for and ranks are determined by the human recruiter who will ultimately get to read your CV, we hope. For each different job role that a company is recruiting for, they can configure their ATS to search for specific keywords and phrases. Whilst it may sound relatively straightforward, there is so much misinformation out there with regards to ATS that it is very hard indeed for candidates to know what the truth is. There are many companies out there claiming they can guarantee to write you a CV that will get you past every ATS. But unless they know exactly which ATS a recruiter is using and how that recruiter has configured it, that is pretty much an impossibility, i.e. that is an impossibility, and their claims are entirely false. So, I can hear you asking, if that is the case, how can you possibly help me, James, to ATS-proof my CV? Well, I can't guarantee that I will get you that all-important interview, but I can share with you my top tips for maximizing your chances of success when a recruiter is using an ATS. So number one, quite often, if a recruiter's online application process uses an ATS, the website will actually tell you that. Somewhere on the screen, you may see an indicator that a particular ATS is being used. If that is the case, you can do a quick online search to find out as much as you can about that particular ATS. However, don't forget that the ATS can and almost definitely will be configured by a human recruiter in ways that cannot be predicted. 2. Read the job ad, job description, person specification carefully, and then read them again. Within those vital resources lie the keywords and phrases that the ATS will hopefully be configured to look out for. Tip number 3. Online word cloud generators can be really helpful in identifying the keywords that you're looking for. Try copying and pasting the details of the job into one of these to create a word cloud, which will show the most frequently used words in larger text. As a general rule, the larger the text, the more important the word is to the recruiter, and therefore to you too. Include those keywords in your own CV, more than once if possible, and always in context. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that ultimately your CV will be read by humans. So whilst just dumping a list of random keywords into your CV may possibly fool an ATS, you must still incorporate those keywords intelligently. For the human reader, make sure you provide evidence of when you have used that particular skill or demonstrated that particular area of expertise, etc. So those keywords make sense for the human on the other side. As a little aside, some candidates are trying to trick an ATS into thinking they're perfect for the job by hiding keywords into in the CV in white text, invisible to the human eye, but supposedly visible to the ATS. I'm afraid that won't work. As ATS have evolved, they have inevitably got smarter, and you risk being rejected immediately if this kind of keyword stuffing, as it's called, is picked up. And if the ATS doesn't get to you, then some recruiters have also caught onto this, and they'll be on the lookout for it too. Finally, tip number 4. Submit your CV in the latest Word file type, i.e. .docx, for the best chance of success. Some ATS will also read older Word file types, .doc, and even PDF, but play it safe with the latest version of Word if you can, unless the job ad specifically says otherwise. In the unlikely event of the ATS not supporting .docx, then copy and paste all the text into Notepad and send it as a .txt text file. Now, let's move on to how to format a CV for ATS purposes. Remember that misinformation I mentioned earlier. So much of this relates to the formatting of a CV and what an ATS can and cannot pass. You will see many resources claim that you shouldn't use colors, tables, graphs, text boxes, icons, italics, borderlines, columns, etc., etc., etc. Literally, the list goes on and on of the things that you shouldn't include in your CV if you are going to get past an ATS. I formally wish to set the record straight about ATS by underlining one simple fact. All text content within your CV can be parsed, indexed, and searched by an ATS. Okay, just so long as you haven't written it in some bizarre alien script or submitted it in some utterly crazy file format. So let's look at some of the formatting options and eliminate some of the myths surrounding them. Color, bold, and italics. Most ATS do not just read in black and white. Some variation in the color and style of the text in the CV is absolutely fine if it can even help to emphasize key points when it reaches the human recruiter. Tables and text boxes, I hear about this all the time from people. Whilst it is true that some ATS may merge or mangle text that is included in tables or text boxes, etc., this doesn't mean it is not passable. So you can certainly use them to keep the CV neat, tidy, and well organized for the human reader. Graphs and charts. Okay, yeah, now representing key information in a graph or chart can really stand out. But yes, when it comes to the ATS, don't use them in place of important text, okay, because that won't be searchable. Symbols and icons, well, drawing the human recruiter's attention to crucial information such as achievements, etc. Using symbols and icons is a great trick, so still do this. The ATS will just strip them out, but it will leave behind and retain the important text. Do remember, of course, though, that whilst presentation is vital, the content is what will ultimately get you the job. So whatever you decide to do with the formatting of your CV, don't ever let that detract from the all-important content. Now, a bit more about keywords. So I get asked about this all the time. Keywords are not necessarily single words, they can also be phrases, and they're typically based on industry terms that relate specifically to the job role that's being applied for. Generally speaking, an ATS operates on a default set of words and/or will be fed relevant words and phrases by the recruiter. Keywords can fall into various different categories depending on exactly what the recruiter is looking for, and they can therefore be industry specific or more general. This will help the recruiter to determine your characteristics based on verbs or adjectives, your specific experience based on keywords like job titles and qualifications, as well as your technical skills. Let's look at an example. If someone has a degree in marketing management and they're looking for general marketing executive or marketing assistant type roles, the degree title and those job titles could be keywords and phrases. They may have acquired particular expertise in digital marketing or B2B marketing, making these potentially important keywords in their CV. It's important to note that spelling matters, not just for obvious reasons. When including keywords, you want to make sure that you are mirroring the exact words and phrases used by the recruiter. For example, B2B, or business-to-business, or business-to-business without the hyphens, or managed teams versus team management. You need to include the same phrasing used by the recruiter in your application. And not just for the ATS, but it also helps from a psychological point of view with the human reader too. So, some final thoughts for you. Anyone who suggests that it is easy to game a wide array of ATS should be listened to with extreme caution. Without doubt, the most important consideration is whether or not you are suitable for the role that you are targeting and whether you can use the relevant keywords, terms and phrases in your CV to demonstrate that. I cannot emphasize enough that your CV will ultimately be read by a human. We are not quite at the point where the entire recruitment and selection process is managed by machines. Not yet anyway, thankfully not in fact. So when you write your CV, you are looking to achieve the perfect balance between what the ATS is programmed to look out for and how easy this is for the human recruiter to then read and understand. As use of AI and machine learning increases, yes, more defined ATS standards will inevitably emerge. And no doubt I will need to update my advice to reflect this. So now we're not far from the end of today's show. I'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday. Remember, the show is Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, each and pretty much every week. I may take Christmas off, then again I may not. Just two more things. First, I must squeeze in some routine but important requests. Do please check me out on social media and connect, follow, or otherwise stalk me, but please don't troll me. Life is too short for trolls. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, about the show in general, or indeed about life, the universe, whether or not Coca-Cola can really dissolve a whole coin, I've always wanted to know that, whatever, do please let me have them in the comment section below. If you like this episode, then please hit it with the YouTube thumbs up. Do think about both subscribing and ringing that bell to be notified about future episodes. If you've already done all of that, then thank you very much. Finally, what's happening in the next episode? Well, tomorrow I'm going to be tackling a question from one of my viewers and also looking at an interview question. Namely, what shapes are best for manholes? Blimey. Answers on a postcard, please. I do hope you'll tune in. Thank you for watching today. Keep safe and be well, my friends. Goodbye.